Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So today I have my very latest, currently inked video. I'll show you my 10 pens I have inked up, and we'll go from left to right, and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Scribo Feel, we have an Omas Milord in the Wild Celluloid, we have a Leonardo Officina Italiana Mediterraneo, we have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda Dragon, we have a Pilot, and this is the Vanishing Point Crimson Sunrise. We have the Molteni Royal Blue Lucents Modello 55S. We have the Visconti Watermark. We have a Visconti Ecstasy Dowd. We have the Visconti Speakeasy, and we have the Visconti Jacques de Molay. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at these pens that I have inked up. So I have the Scribo Feel, and this is a pen that was released at the end of 2018 by Scribo, which are the ex-Omas employees, and this is their newest model to date. And it's a really lovely faceted bodied material, and facets on the cap as well, and it has this hourglass shape going on here, and although it kind of looks a little bit uncomfortable to actually write with and hold in the hand, it's actually very, very comfortable. It's the complete opposite to what you would think. So this is a really nice pen. It's a resin or acrylic, and it comes with a 14 karat gold, and on this nib, or on this pen here, I have the medium flex, so it's a 14 karat gold nib, and it really is a lovely writer. It's actually what I would call a really good modern flex nib. It's clearly not going to be a vintage flex nib in terms of flexibility, but it actually holds up pretty darn good. So this for me is a really lovely pen, writes very well. I love the bounce and the flex to the nib, and it really accentuates my writing a lot. So I like that pen a lot, and I do have that inked up quite a lot. Then I have this Omas Milord, and this was a pen that I picked up in the beginning of May, and it's the Wild Celluloid, or Wild Side as sometimes it's called. But again, this is a really nice pen. I do like the Omas pens, I do like their nibs as well. This pen I will show you here comes with an 18 karat gold medium nib. It's not a flex nib, it's not as flexible as the 14 karat gold nib, but it really, again, is a nice writing nib. And for me, I find the size in my hand here actually pretty well. It really is a lovely writer, and really, if you compare that to, say, the Scribo in my hand, let's see if I can do this together, you'll actually see that the Scribo and the Milord are pretty much similar in size. So this really has, the Scribo really has been modelled after the Milord in many ways. I know Scribo mentioned to me that they were pricing this really more around the Paragon, but this to me really is more like a Milord. So I have the Scribo there, the Scribo Feel. I have the Milord as well from Omas. And I then have the Leonardo Officina Italiana, and this is the Mediterraneo, and this is the celluloid, and you can see here the celluloid really is stunning. It's a beautiful celluloid that Leonardo have. Now this celluloid was also made by made in pens by Montegrappa as well, and it really is a beautiful pen. Now, these Leonardos tend to be a little bit on the shorter side, and also these sections tend to be a little bit narrower. I can post the cap if I want to, make it a much more longer pen. It is a piston filling pen, it's not a cartridge converter in the celluloid version, and it really is nice. Now, it comes with a 14 karat gold, and this is a medium nib that I have here. I did actually want to get a medium nib. I think, to be honest, I would actually much prefer having a broad nib in this pen. It's just because I'm writing more with broad nibs more lately, but I do like how that medium nib writes. Then I have this lovely Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and this is the dragon. This was a hand-picked material. I wanted something that had like gold or bronze in it, looked a little bit like a Urushi style pen, or some Makie, and I like this, having this dragon or this wyvern serpent on here. So this is a beautiful pen. Now it's a standard cylindrical shape. It doesn't taper in any way. Like both the end caps are pretty squared off, and it comes with a Yovo broad nib, and you'll see that there. Now I do have a peachy orangey ink in here, so because it's a cream section, you will see it actually getting between the nib collar and the nib. But this, I like the size of these pens, these Andromedas. They are really nice sized pens, and they're cartridge converters as well. And I then have the Pilot, and this is a Vanishing Point, and it's a Crimson Sunrise, and this really is a lovely pen. I was glad I managed to pick this up when I did at Christmas last year in 2018, and there were very few of these, there still are very few of these actually being sold for new now. So I was really glad when I was able to pick this one up. And it is, as I said, it's a Vanishing Point, so you can see there the nib. It's a really, really small nib, although that is a broad nib. So if I can try and zoom in a little bit there, you might be able to see it a little bit more, but that has a lot of tipping on that nib. So it is a broad nib, but it writes very, very nicely. So I have that inked up as well. I also have this lovely Molteni, and this is the Royal Blue Luchance Modello 55S, and this has a lot of sort of clear elements going on, so you can see the piston mechanism through that Royal Blue Luchance material there, and it really is a lovely, lovely material. Now, it does come with the Blue Royale cap and also filling knob, so it's not the Royal Blue Luchance all the way through, but it's a beautiful pen, and I do love this nib. It's an 18 karat gold medium nib, and it's a Bock nib, but that nib really, really writes well and very wet as well. So for me, that is another lovely writing pen. So I've been writing a lot with that in this week. I've also gone back to inking up my Visconti watermark, and I've written a lot with that, and you can see there that pretty much the ink level is down to here now. So I've been actually writing a lot with this past week, but this is a pen that I do like a lot as well. So it is a lovely it's a solid silver or sterling silver 925, and it's coated in a 23 karat palladium finish to give it that mirror-like finish. And if I unscrew the cap, you will see that it has a lovely 23 karat palladium nib there, and that's a medium nib, but it's a nib that I really, again, do like the writing of. It's a quite a bouncy nib that's going on with that pen. So I do like that pen a lot. And then I have the Visconti Ecstasy Dowd, and this is a pen that really holds a very high point in my collection. This is a beautiful pen. It's an expensive pen, and I managed to get it at a significant discount. So for me, all of that matches. It's a beautiful pen. It has, I don't know if you can see here, but it has some like gold dust in this black lucite sort of cap. But it's really stunning, and you have this sort of filigree going on here. And if I unscrew it, it comes with a 23 cat palladium nib, but this is one of the more bouncy palladium nibs. It's a medium nib, but that nib really actually writes very well and very wet. The strange thing about this pen is that it does have a push-pull piston, which, to be honest, I actually do like. They are very consistent in filling very quickly, and the reason for that is that the end cap here you can unscrew, and you can basically unscrew this and you can put some perfume in it. And the idea is that you then put some perfume in there, and that inner cap is basically a dabber. And then what happens is you put some fluff or cotton in here, and then you just dab it, and then your pen is scented. It's not something personally that I ever do, but it's something that you can do with that pen. And then I have the Visconti Speakeasy, and this is a mammoth of a pen. It really is a large pen, not only in terms of length, but also in terms of girth as well. And you can see here that this is a very long pen, but for me, again, this writes really well. It's another 23 carat palladium medium nib, but it has a bounce to the nib and is also very, very wet. So for me, that is a beautiful writing nib, and you can see there some of this material on that pen there is really quite exquisite. And the reason why, so I'll show you that this actually has a cartridge converter, and very similar to the Ecstasy Dowd, this actually you can fill up with alcohol, but it's unfortunately the pen actually has a very restricted ink capacity. If I unscrew this, I will show you. Normally it will only accept cartridges. I've managed to get a little squeeze converter from Kaweco in there, and I just find it's easier filling that with a Visconti travelling inkwell and letting gravity do its thing and let the ink rush into the converter, rather than trying to refill a ink cartridge every time, or use ink cartridges instead. And then we have this lovely Visconti here, and this is the Visconti, and this is the Templar Jacques de Molay, and again this is a really, really stunning pen, and I got this in February. I bought this for my birthday. This is a beautiful pen. It's made of silver. It's 925 sterling silver. The pen has a 23 carat palladium nib on it, and again this is a really nice medium wet nib, and it's a power vac filler, so you can fill up the whole body of ink, and it really is a lovely pen. And then you can see here, if you haven't seen this before, the intricate details here. You have the cross, you have the chainmail, you even have the Jacques de Molay inscription. This really is a medieval pen, a Knights Templar pen, and it's a pen that I really do like in my collection. So I have that pen inked up as well. So I think now let's go and do a writing sample of these pens. So the first pen we have, we'll do an ink swatch. So this is the lovely grey ink. It's a very wet pen. So this is the Scribo feel, and it's a medium nib, and it's a 14 carat nib, and as I mentioned, it's a flex nib, so you can do a little bit of flexing if you want to with it. I don't tend to push this too much. Now the ink in here is Pilot, Iroshizuku, a U not a V, and it's Kiri Sami. And I find that out of several grey inks I like, that's one of my grey inks, my go-to grey inks. Then we have this Omos Milord, and I have this inked up with a red ink at the moment. And I think I probably will change this to a different colour ink. I've been using a lot of greens lately, so I don't know if I'll put a green ink in there. Maybe I'll put a black. I will see when I come to empty this pen which ink I'm going to put in there. So this is an Omos Milord, and it's the wild celluloid, and it's a medium nib, and it's an 18 karat gold nib, and it's inked up with Lamy red, and that is a very sort of muted sort of pastel red. Then we have this lovely, again, another celluloid, and this is a blue ink that I actually do like a lot. I started out liking the Pilot Iroshizuku ink because they have some really good lovely blue inks and turquoise inks, but this one is not a Pilot Iroshizuku ink. So this is the Leonardo, and it's the Officina Italiana. I'm not going to write that. It's the Mediterraneo, and it's a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold nib, and the ink in here is Robert Oster, and it's Australian Sky Blue, and that is one of 3 blues that I really do like a lot. More turquoise, but I do like it. Then we have this pen, and this is the Atelier Lusso, and this is an ink that I don't use all that often, but I'm trying to use it a bit more lately. So it's an Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and it's the I call it the dragon. It's actually a wyvern serpent, but I call it a dragon, and it's a broad steel nib, and the ink in here is a lovely diamine peach haze, and it starts coming out quite dark or darker, and then it dries to a more lighter and almost more pastel colour, and that's one reason why I like that ink a lot. Then we have this Vanishing Point, and this is a lovely wet broad nib, and so this is the Pilot. It's starting to dry up a little bit. Just prime that nib a little bit more because this ink dries out very quick. It's a Pilot Vanishing Point, and it's the Crimson Sunrise, and it's a broad, and it's an 18 karat gold nib, and the ink in here is diamine Robert. And I do find that this ink will dry out very quickly in the pen. So you do have to sort of keep that ink going, because the ink is actually a very saturated ink. So typically saturated inks or high dye content inks will dry up a lot more quicker. And then I have this lovely blue pen, and this will do an ink swatch on. And this is a very wet pen, especially for a medium nib. And it's the Molteni, and it's the Royal Blue Luchance Modelo 55S, and it's a medium nib, and it's a 18 karat gold nib, and it is inked up with KWZ Gummy Berry. Almost couldn't spell gummy berry there. And the next pen I have inked up is this lovely Visconti watermark, and this comes in a beautiful orange ink. So it's the Visconti watermark, and it's a 23 karat palladium nib, and it's a medium nib. And the ink in here is Sailor Gentle Apricot, or Apricot, depending on how you pronounce it. That really is a lovely ink. It's one of my favourite orange inks. And then we have another Visconti. And again, this is a very, very wet nib. Look at how wet that nib is. And it's a medium nib. So it's the Visconti, and it's the Ecstasy Dowd, and it's a medium 23 karat palladium nib. And the ink in here is Diamine Majestic Purple. But that's a super wet nib, and I burn through ink on that because of the small capacity of ink, but I love that nib and love how it writes. And then we have the Visconti again, and this is another very wet medium nib. You can see again, I like wet nibs, and I like Visconti medium nibs, especially the wet ones. So this is a Visconti Speakeasy, and it's a medium 23 karat palladium nib, and the ink in here is the lovely Mont Blanc Corn Poppy. That's me realigning the nib there. Red. Just trying to reach around my microphone cable there. And then the final pen I have inked up this week again is another Visconti, and again it's another medium nib, and again it's another very wet nib. So it's the Visconti Jacques de Malay, and it's a medium 23 karat palladium nib, and the ink is my other favourite grey ink, Diamine Earl Grey. Now, I know Diamine have a lot of grey inks, and I really should probably try some of them, but to be honest, I really like Diamine Earl Grey a lot, and I also like the Pilot of Oshizuku Kirisami a lot, so to be honest, I'm actually quite happy there with all of those inks. So, you can see here, this week I have inked up the Scribo Fill with a medium 14 karat flex nib, and inked up with Pilot of Oshizuku Kirisami, an Omos Milord Wild Celluloid in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Lamy Red, the Leonardo Mediterraneo in a medium 14 karat gold nib, inked up with Robert Oster Australian Sky Blue, an Atelier Lusso Andromeda Dragon in a broad steel Yovo nib, inked up with Diamine Peach Haze, a Pilot Vanishing Point Crimson Sunrise in a broad 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Roberts, a Molteni Royal Blue Luchance Modelo 55S in a medium 18 karat gold nib, and that's inked up with KWZ Gummy Berry, a Visconti Watermark 23 karat Palladium medium nib, inked up with Sailor Gentle Apricot, and we have the Visconti Ecstasy Dowd in a medium 23 karat Palladium nib, inked up with Diamine Majestic Purple, which is still trying to dry, I might add. That is still a super wet pen. A Visconti Speakeasy medium with the 23 karat Palladium nib, inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, a Visconti Jacques de Molay in a medium 23 karat Palladium nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. So there you are. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.